All right, everybody. Welcome into the DNVR Rapids podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Caroll, joined by the illustrious, as I said on Twitter, Joesph Samelson. We are presented by Vodka TV. Joesph, man, where's your head at right now?
My head's all over the place. I can't figure out what went on in the last 10 total minutes, I think, of stoppage time between the Rapids and Sporting KC. But listen, the result is the same. 4 guys sent off, but listen, 2-1 loss for the Rapids. Their 8th road loss in all competitions in 2022, including that Champions League and Open Cup exit. So 9 road matches played.
Yeah, still winless. They got the 1 draw against Houston, which should have been a win. Gave up just a dribbler. You look at Kansas City coming off their worst loss, I mean, definitely of the season, and who knows how much farther you can go back to call that their worst loss for. They're super injured. You're looking at this as like, okay, this is a match. You're coming off a win against the top seed in the West. Easily the Rapids' best performance of the season, going against a team who's completely injured, coming off their worst performance of the season. And if you look at what happened, it looked like those teams were actually coming from the opposite place that they were coming from.
I mean, the Rapids created like a few decent opportunities in the first half, and of course, Lucas Esteves was able to finish one just 5 minutes after Salloi opened the scoring in the 24th minute. But they just weren't good enough in front of goal tonight, and you can see that in the XG. The Rapids put in an XG at the match well over 1. I believe it was around 1.5, and SKC didn't even get up to I think 0.5 with their chances, and it's really just 2 defensive errors that come into play on the 2 goals from Salloi.
Yeah, let's look into those. Salloi gets 2, Lucas gets 1, like you said. Let's get into that. So Salloi opens it up just past the 20th minute on what is a very quick free kick taken literally from behind a Kansas City teammate down on the ground. They pull the ball from his feet. Quick, get it out to Salloi on the wing. He is 1-on-1 and gets the goal.
Yeah, I mean, and it was a complete defensive breakdown at that moment. Yeah. I mean, Wilson, who committed the foul, he had his back towards the play. He just was kind of sauntering off back.
He wasn't the only one.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Wilson got caught off guard. Then Abubakar had no idea how to defend Salloi 1v1. And then, of course, Salloi slotted in at the near post where Yarborough should have, arguably had it covered, right?
Yeah, he should have had a leg out on that for sure.
Yep. Three big mistakes for the Rapids defense in that moment, and really came to fruition in the same way. I mean, not from a foul, but a similar defensive error in the second half gave Kansas City their second goal.
Yeah.
2 shots on target from SKC.
Yeah, 2 shots on target.
Both went in.
So they go up 1-0, and you're like, okay, this is the end. Rapids haven't been able to respond, right? Like they go up 1-0, you're like, okay, it's over. Rapids haven't been able to respond on the road all year. 30th minute comes around, and Lucas puts one in off of Trusty. Had a really nice run all the way to the touchline, sends one in. It bounces around. Zardes was basically in the goal, coming back out, away, taps it to Lucas's feet, puts it in, 1-1. You're like, okay, they found their groove
Was that
again.
intentional, do we think? Did we decide
I think it was.
Whether or not? Yeah, I think it was a good heads-up play from Zardes.
I think Zardes, instead of trying to turn around, because he would have had to turn – he couldn't. His shorter turn was into the keeper who was on the ground, right? Yeah. So he would have had to completely turn farther and get all the way around the ball. Instead, Lucas was probably like, we're not on the ground.
It was a good heads up play, I think.
Lucas was probably screaming for the ball because he had the wide open goal, put one in. You're like, okay. They survived the rest of the half, had a couple of nice chances. But mostly harmless from both sides for the rest of the half.
That's true.
And you're like, okay, cool, right? Like, all right, Rapids might survive. And then Salloi off of a lawless, you can't call it a whiff. I mean, it did go off his foot he was caught in no man's land. I think
the other thing is Rosenberry.
Yeah, Keegan was nowhere close to the back line.
Exactly. So they just got complete, and credit to ex-Rapid Courtney Ford, who played in the ball that led to that chance.
Yeah.
That's the reason why the reason why Lawless had to leap and try to intercept that ball, which led to the deflection, which led to the goal, was because Rosenberry wasn't able to track Salloi, and so Abubakar recognized that, oh, this is a punishing ball, leapt to intercept it, and and he mistimed it, and that happens. Like, I don't think that was a particularly, like, people miss interceptions, right?
Yeah.
But the Rapids put themselves in that position because the defense wasn't covering Salloi.
Yeah.
And even though the Rapids did create other chances, like, they didn't create a lot of, I guess, what I would call big chances, like your key opportunities, right? And those two big chances, Casey was clinical, and we saw down the stretch, the Rapids forced 2 saves out of Melia, but still, it was just a rough game. And then, of course,
I think
it
the
ends
set
with
pieces. I think if you're pulling a positive from it, and where most of the Rapids' good chances come from are set pieces and crosses in from the end line. The problem is, after that went up 2-1, there was basically 9 back for Kansas City at all times. It was a wall. It was a fortress. There was no chance. There was no chance you were going to make a run. Barrios broke through it once. Outside, Lewis had a couple nice runs too. I thought Lewis actually had a pretty decent game, all things considered. He had one of the forced saves.
I think he was arguably the best forward tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Even though he didn't get a contribution. I don't think he misplaced a pass at all, which, 10 out of 10 accurate passes. And
then, I think the one thing we haven't brought up yet, and why Barrios came on, Zardes with a possible hamstring. Is this the 4th, 5th hamstring of the season? He limped off. Barrios came on. I thought Barrios had a pretty impactful minutes. Didn't get on the score sheet from it, but he continues his nice run of play off the bench, kind of taking over the Lewis role from a season ago. Now that Lewis is entrenched as a starter, but the Rapids just can't catch a break on the hamstring front. I don't know if you can look at the training staff or if it's just being overworked in the last 2 weeks, but you get Wilson and you get Price back from hamstrings, and now looks like Zardes will probably. I mean, if I had to bet money, I would say Zardes is out Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to call it straight because of the fixture congestion, because Price and Wilson both picked up their hamstrings in single game hamstring injuries in single game weeks. This is like the first, and Esteves as well, I should say. Oh, yeah. This is the first sort of injury the Rapids have picked up during this, like, congested, I guess, new injury the Rapids have picked up during this congested set of matches, and could not come at a worse time. It feels like, the Rapids finally go out and pay to bring in a starting forward, and he goes down 5 matches into an apparent hamstring injury. I mean, the good news is that he, walked off under his own power, albeit very gingerly. Yes. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. I would not anticipate Zardes starting or even really playing this weekend. I
don't think Seattle. You need to. I think maybe, I don't know, this could be, depending on how the scoreline goes, you might even get some Yappy minutes in at the end there. I think, Mosquito's been a pretty popular sub on lately. And he also, I think he had a pretty nice performance, including receiving the foul that sparked the chaos. We haven't even talked about the chaos yet.
I mean, that's the thing. There's just so much happened.
So we get through all of that, right? We get through all of that. We get the subs off, we get the injury. It's a 2-1. The Rapids are trying to break through that wall. Mosquito is fouled near the half line in the 93rd minute. So this is well into stoppage. There's 5 minutes of stoppage on the board.
This is after Trusty got a second yellow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. So Trusty gets a second yellow in the 91st.
No, but it just
Rubio gets a yellow in the 91st. Lucas gets a yellow in the 93rd. And then on this foul, Mosquito goes to take a really quick free kick, set the ball. Salloi comes up and literally just like, Bush League is all get out. Basically just takes his legs out from under him. Then just turns and decides to scream, and then decides to turn and scream at the referee about something after pulling that. Lucas takes clear offense to it, as he should. I don't condone the violence, but I mean, teammates got to look out for teammates. He runs up, 2 hands into the back. Salloi goes flying. Lucas gets the straight red.
Fontes
and
also
Rubio
gets red.
Well, so Rubio is in the face of the ref, who I thought the ref actually I don't have a ton of complaints from the game, honestly. I thought he handled things relatively well. He got yellow happy in stoppage time, of course, but Rubio's in his face, and Fontes comes up. I was just watching a replay on Twitter, and I was dying. Puts two hands right around Rubio's neck, literally like he has to reach past the face of the referee, puts two hands on Rubio's neck, and Rubio just flies to the ground, gets the red for Fontes. They go to VAR after sorting all this out. We're into the 99th minute at this point. 99th minute. And Salloi is given a red for his action, his initial action that caused the whole thing.
Which he should have been given like straight off. Like, I don't know why. Like,
yeah, he wasn't even given a yellow straight off.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and like I can't say enough like how much of like a punk move this is. Like,
it was really awful.
No, like I mean, this is just like the type of thing I just hate to see in the sport. Like, not only are you like, you know, trying to delay like the restart, which is like something that refs have been told to, you know, watch out for this year. And I think either Acosta or Wilson picked up a yellow for delaying really early, but it's just clattering into a guy trying to restart. And that's just,
he swept the leg like it was freaking Cobra Kai, dude. It was like, come on, Bush League.
And so like, and I agree with you. I don't condone the violence from Esteves, but I totally understand. Like, out of all excusable red cards, like it's probably near the top. And
look, not just that. Like, so they lose Salloi for the next game. That's a big loss for them, right?
And Lucas they also lose Vujanovic or whatever, who went off for injury early in the first half.
But my point with the Salloi loss is, look who comes in if Lucas is gone. Beitashour, who's had a fantastic season and has been great in his role and has fully understood that he can stay back as that fourth and let Keegan play fully up. Lucas and Keegan have to kind of play a dance where it's like, okay, I'm up, you're up, I'm up, you're up. Who's holding back? Who's staying up? Beta is fine in his role. He knows what he's going to do. You know,
out of all the players who could have been sent off and missed the next game, Lucas Esteves is probably the I don't want to say expendable because he's a very talented player. Obviously got the goal tonight, but like you said, Beitashour has been excellent this year in filling in his stead. And I mean, I've heard I could entertain the argument that he's actually been better at the left back position than Esteves. Like I know Juan and I have both talked about the idea of putting Beitashour in at left back and Esteves as a winger, just to get them both on the field. But but point is, you know, the trustee loss hurts, but you got Vazquez. You got Vazquez who'll step up this weekend probably.
I hope so. I really do. I've really liked what I've seen from him too. Honestly, I think it's like. Honestly, when you're because they have the break too coming up. So what are you, like 8 games away from not having Trustee on the team at all?
Yeah, right? I mean July 17th is when he.
So about 8 games, 9 games, something like that. That's like, okay, cool. Yeah, take him off. We have Vazquez came in.
They have to get minutes to Vazquez anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, Vazquez needs to get more first team starts so he can mesh with the side so he's ready when Trustee leaves.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, so kind of a blessing in disguise, but honestly, like the big story here, the big picture overall is that the Rapids just continue to wilter on the road.
Yeah.
This is a team that won, I want to say 8 road matches last year, 7 or 8 road matches.
I believe they were 9 and 8 on the road last year.
Oh, that could be, that might be correct. Either way, they put in incredible performances on the road last season, and that is the sole reason why the Rapids were able to finish at the top of the Western Conference, because they had similar home records as like Sporting and Seattle last season, and were able to make up the difference on the table based on how well they performed on the road. And we have not seen that same team come out to play in away games this year.
I haven't seen a team play like this home and road. Honestly, they're like the Rockies is like the team.
It's so Jekyll and Hyde.
Like you can't even pull, like I can't even pull a comparable soccer team right now. It is literally Rockies-esque with how strong they are at home and how terrible they are on the road. They've pulled 1 point on the road. One, and against Houston should have been 3. 0 in Dallas. Should have been at least 1. right?
For those of you who don't know, MLS sends out game notes with like a bunch of milestones before every game. And in there, for every single road match this season, every single game notes has been like, the Rapids are looking for their 100th ever road win in MLS. And it's been like that ever since they went on the road to Houston last season and picked up their 99th ever win. Like literally since then, every single road match has been, the Rapids are looking for their 100th ever win. And they cannot get it. Why is it not happening? And I mean, it didn't happen tonight because the defense just wasn't there. Like,
but this is what's crazy to me is the Dick is a fortress. They play as well as any team in the league when they are at home, and they fall off. It's not like they're just like, okay, you're away from home, you're not as sharp, like you're, it's like they completely fall off a cliff in a way that you just don't see very much.
And what's crazy this year is that so many of the road losses have been conceding, have seen the team concede multiple goals.
Yep.
You see them lose 3-0 to Los Angeles. You see them lose 3-1 to Minnesota and FC Dallas. And now 2-0 to Sporting KC. Or sorry, 2-1 to Sporting KC.
Yep. And so this is their okay. So they scored in Minnesota. They scored in Houston, and they scored in Kansas City. So they do have 3 road goals. And they've given up 11.
Just to pick out
brutal. You can't survive that.
And just to pick out Cody's comment in the chat, who says that with Trusty's recent performances, how do you think he'll do in the Premier League? I just wanted to point out that, I mean, from what I've heard from reports out of Arsenal's camp, is that they plan on loaning him out this season.
Yeah, he's not going to be in the Premier League. He'll be in the Championship or League One.
To my understanding is that he doesn't have the amount of points required to actually qualify for a British work permit.
Oh, interesting.
So they're probably going to loan him to like a Europa League level team so he can get continental minutes, which will give him like the last few points.
Interesting.
But
anyways, I could see him in like maybe in the Swiss league or in the Dutch league. He's not, you're not going to see him in a Champions Club or anything. It's going to be a team you've probably never heard of. Well, we might have heard of. The average fan might, unless you play FIFA, you probably won't have heard the team that he's probably going to be playing for.
But yeah, like the defense has just been there at Dick's, right? Like,
dude, it's been great at home. It's been dominant at home. It's been suffocating at home.
And what's crazy is that, like, I love Lawless Abubakar. I think he's one of the most fun players to watch for the Rapids because of his swings and roundabouts and form. But he's just so great at home. When he travels on.
Oh, there's Yahya. What's up, buddy? Welcome in, Yahir Vazquez.
But the one thing I will say, Lawless had the worst game possible, in my opinion. And I believe he was the sole reason the Rapids lost today. Because I really do believe that they were good enough defensively and limited the chances enough that if he was a little bit more solid on those 2 defensive stands, the team wins.
I think he had a ton of great stops. He had and I pointed it out on Twitter, he got caught in a 2-on-1 in the first half that he completely shut down by himself in the box. I don't think he had as bad of a game as you're making it out to be. I honestly think he had a pretty good game. He had two bad moments.
I think he had a really bad game because there was times where he was stuck in the corner that he couldn't get the ball out.
Fair.
There was time that his passes were like the least crisp of anybody on the team. But the thing is, players have these games. It's common. Everybody goes through it. Now he just has to turn around and be the best player on against the Seattle Sounders.
But
just popping in, getting his point, and leaving it is killing me, dude.
He just hops in, says Lawless is trash, leaves the pod.
Lawless is not trash. I'm a big Lawless fan. You just got to realize that he did have a horrible game, and it's okay. Everybody has
I said
game.
this. No. I said this. I said this when we first opened the pod. Like, I do think that he shares a lot of the responsibility for both goals. But I also think that, like, pinning the first goal entirely on Lawless is excusing, Danny Wilson
and Jack Price was right there.
Danny Wilson not paying attention. Yeah. William Yarbrough getting beat it was just basically like 3 terrible things had to happen for the Rapids to concede there, and literally everything went wrong.
Oh my god! You're killing me, bro.
I will say, Again, I love Lawless. I completely agree with you, Joesph, but he did fuck up pretty big.
Oh yeah,
Because he was the last.
I'm not excusing him. I'm just sharing the
we're
blame.
excusing him, Joesph, and it's fine because we love Lawless. We're a Lawless pod, but I also understand he was the last player. He had to turn around the quickest. He was very distracted. Even if the rest of the team was distracted, as the last defender, you're watching it from afar. You kind of have to be more adjusted. The second goal, that's the one where I'm like, yo, I gotta have to blame Keegan a little bit on that because he had to pinch towards the middle once he saw Lawless make that run up. So that's the one I don't excuse. I have a little bit more excuse for Lawless because that was like Keegan had to also run back and help with Salloi, but every time Salloi had the ball near Lawless, I'm like, for fuck's sake, here comes 3 and 4
I think
for Salloi.
Honestly, I think Lawless, while you are right that he had the loudest mistakes, I think he was routinely put in a spot by his teammates to fail. And I think he is having, if you look on aggregate, I think he's having the best season of any of those center backs for the Rapids. Advanced stats love him so far this year. He has a great goal already on the year. And I think his teammates let him down, but you can't not blame him for the two, right? Like he's directly involved with both goals, but it's just, man, he just could not have been handed a worse positioning on any of those from the rest of the
quick, last thing I'll say completely on this game, and I'm not going to budge in anymore. I'm all for Lucas Esteves going in and dropping Salloi.
That was dope.
He deserved it. He came in. That was a really bad foul on his behalf. Got to defend. You have to defend your teammates. Drop that dude 10 out of 10. I don't condone violence. I condone defending your teammates.
Love that.
Yaya is showing that he wasn't actually paying attention to the first 10 minutes of the pod. Because we did comment all
what I'm thinking, because that's the one that hurt the most. I'm like, that red is a worthwhile red. Give me that red 10 out of 10, because that's a red.
I said the same thing.
That's the red that you take 10 out of 10.
Yeah, 100%.
Make sure you guys knew that I agree.
Good.
I don't condone violence, but that was one of the instant violences where I'm like, yeah, you deserve that shit. Get out of here. And that should have been a red immediately on Salloi, but the ref didn't see it clearly, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
He thought he got away with it, but that was a bad foul.
Yeah. But listen, what it really does just come down to, we were talking about this, right? Is that the team just can't do it on the road. I mean,
it is just bizarre to me.
What is happening?
I don't know. You have the best coach in the MLS, in my opinion, and he's gotten 1 point on the road, and we're knocking on the doorstep of June at this point. And look, the road does not get easier for the Rapids.
I saw your tweet earlier.
Yeah,
right?
So they're home. They're home for 2. You get Seattle on Sunday, Nashville the following Saturday. You go to New York, to Portland, home for Austin, in Seattle after that. So they have had the easy road schedule that you hope for. Yeah. You could not ask for an easier road schedule. Yeah, they've played at Dallas. That's not easy. They've played at LA in the opener. Okay,
San Jose, Houston, KC.
San Jose,
they need to win all 3 of those games.
Oh my God, Minnesota. They should you're begging for points in those. Patrick Lyons, my guy. Shout out Patrick. Oh yeah, dude, that was what I said. Road Rapids, Road Rockies. Patrick Lyons hosts the DNVR Rockies. Shout out.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know a crazy fact?
I would love to know a crazy fact. Give me.
If the Rapids had won those 3 road games that I just mentioned, Houston, San Jose, Kansas City, they would be first in the Western Conference right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, those are the winnable games.
Yeah.
They need to win that's it's just been remarkable how much of a shift we've seen on the road this year. And it is the top story about this Rapids team that they need to get under control before the playoffs, because at the rate that they're going,
well, they're not going to have a home playoff game. Yeah,
exactly.
They will not have one.
They're going to have to do it on the road in the playoffs. And if they can't turn this form around before that time comes, then I mean, it's another one and done. And we
and
already
who
know.
who knows whose hamstring is going to be ready to go for that road playoff game too at this rate.
Yeah.
Man, brutal. I mean, okay. Anything else? The one thing I wanted to touch on in the game, and you're very strong formationally and positionally, and kind of analyzing why people are where. And I noticed it more this game than I have in the last few. But how often Trusty, Lawless were all the way down on the goal line, basically.
Yeah.
And it felt like they spent more time that far up than I've seen all season. And I'm not sure why, when you have Lewis, Zardes, and Rubio in attack, who are there for those reasons, specifically Lewis on the wing, but then you have Trusty in front of him.
Yeah.
Does not make sense to me.
So I think the idea is that whenever one of the fullbacks or wingbacks pushes completely up, you want Trusty or Lawless, who are usually the outside two center backs, to push forward and occupy the space that they had previously been taking up. And the thing that works really well with Trusty, because of how solid he is at distributing the ball, like I think he actually put in
he put in the shot that led to the goal. Yeah.
And he put in quite a few his long ball, his passing metrics are really strong tonight before the red card. And yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, and that's really, what everybody's going to be talking about going into the next fixture, right? Is that, you don't have Trusty, you don't have Esteves, you might not have Price, you might not have Zardes. It's just a mess. But yeah, as far as positionally, the idea is that you want those center backs to take up those spaces on the field. And then if you push for a goal, if you're like pushing forward more in the attack, then those center backs are already there to potentially, slot or, make an inside run.
But it felt to me like Trusty was almost playing the Lucas role on that, like from the corner, basically trying to send in crosses. And look, I think Trusty's talented enough to do it, but positionally and rotationally and who's out there, I don't want him doing that.
Yeah, I think Esteves,
your offense is not clicking correctly if Trusty is sending crosses in from the top, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think Trusty found himself on the wings a lot, because whenever Lucas would get the ball or try to play 1-2s in the attack, he would sort of shift inside, as the technical parlance would be inverted wing back, right?
Yeah, sort of where Max tends to drift up towards.
Yeah. So when you when the wing back pushes up, and when he starts playing like 1-2s with the attack, he sort of pushes sort of underneath, and then Trusty overlaps on the left side.
This actually, Yahya has a theory on this, and it's and you've heard it. It's Lucas and Lewis can't play together. And I think it tends to. I think he's right. I'm really curious to see how Beta and Lewis play together this weekend. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting because I think that lets Lewis actually run, because Lucas gets up on him, pulls defenders behind him into the wrong position, and it was just a mess. It was a mess. I think the whole team's a mess. I don't know where their communication goes. I don't know, but you have a very difficult road schedule ahead.
A very difficult home game too coming up.
Two difficult home games. Critical home games. Critical. And what's crazy, if you want to stay in the playoff picture. Critical.
Yeah, and I think that this team is clearly a playoff team, because their home form is going to carry them above the red line by the end of the season, just because nobody can seem to come in at Dick's Sporting Goods Park and pick up a win. And even the draws, the Rapids have clearly looked like the better team in their home draws this year, or I think just one, right? I could be misremembering the seasons. It's a lot of games, man.
They drew with
Charlotte and...
Oh, no, so 2 home draws. Because Real Salt Lake.
The RSL.
The 10 uncle match. Part 1, not part 2, because part 2 10 uncle was awesome.
But how crazy! I mean, I don't want to say that officiating wasn't the cause of the loss tonight. No, but it is. Officiating has been a major factor in, I want to say, almost all of Colorado's games this year, or at least
even the Portland game where they won. Yeah, Rubio got sent off on. I mean, probably fairly, but he did get sent off, and they were playing down and put it away.
But it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, and I want to like stress that I'm not blaming, and I don't think like Frazier is either. I just saw a quote from him where he said, like, I'm not sure how to assess the officiating. We didn't lose the game because of officiating. I'm a big believer in teammates standing up for each other. I'm also a believer in controlling your emotions, which sounds like
the most coach speak thing ever.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
even,
like it's a
I used to
backhanded
try,
sort of
you know,
compliment
I'd
to
tell Yaya to
Esteves, right?
push the show so I could hear these post game sound bites, and it's like Frazier doesn't say anything, and he goes first. So then you have to wait longer to get to players who might actually give you a quote or say something interesting. It's just honestly, it's not even worth. It's not like I have a gamer to put out or anything. So like, you know, whatever. I'm not worried about a quote from him. He never says much. The one thing I saw on Twitter, our boy Matt Pollard was basically like, "Oh great, Lucas Trusty out. In comes Seattle. It's a loss." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no, it's not. The dick is impenetrable." Impenetrable.
I mean, this is arguably, and I guess we should, you know, about the halfway point, we should start talking about this game a little bit,
let's
right?
Go.
Is that
wait? First, we got to talk about the homies at Ivaka TV. We will preview this game, and if you want to watch this game, well, if you're like half of Denver, you're not able to watch this game this weekend, Sunday night. But you know who can? Customers of Ivaka TV. Ivaka TV is a whole new way to be able to get TV programming at your house. It's less expensive. It's easy to watch, offers a superior picture. Services include local networks like Altitude Sports, AT&T Sportsnet, other national channels. Ivaka TV is growing constantly and adding new channels to their lineup. Services now available in Denver and Colorado Springs. The most important thing, I cannot say this enough, Rapids fans, they have Altitude. You will not miss Rapids games. And
they also have DNVR.
Yeah,
you might be watching this.
You might be watching us on Ivaka right
TV
now,
right now,
dude. It's so sick. We're on TV. Hi, Mom. She doesn't have Ivaka TV, but she should, because it's dirt cheap. If you go to ivaka.tv/DNVR, ivaka.tv/DNVR, enter the promo code DNVR. $10 off your first 3 months. That's $15 a month for the first 3 months plus receiver. There's no contracts. There's no hidden fees. I might go get my mom Ivaka TV. Maybe a late Mother's Day present. She deserves it, right? Anyways, catch your Rapids on Ivaka. Shout out the homies at Ivaka. And now let's talk about this game that you can watch on Ivaka this weekend. Seattle coming in on Sunday, 6:00 kick. Early evening. I'm kind of excited about that time. I don't know why. I kind of like a 6:00.
Well, you know you know why it's that early, right?
No.
Oh, okay. So they are facilitating Rapids 2, which will be lining up at Dick's Sporting Goods Park at 9 p.m.
They're just going to turn around and kick at 9?
Yep.
Wow.
So
that field's going to be a disaster. Good thing they're they're not on the road. They turn around and play Saturday.
Yeah, and
yikes.
So they'll be playing. Rapids 2 will be playing Seattle's MLS Next Pro affiliate, which was the Tacoma Defiance.
Do you get in with a ticket? I honestly don't know. Do you
yes.
So you can just stay and watch Rapids 2?
100%. Yeah, they might force everybody over to the west side of the stadium, or the west side of the stadium, because that's what they usually do at games when they have like something going on afterwards. Everybody sort of has to get pushed to that side of the stadium.
Interesting.
But it should be fun. But arguably, this game against Seattle is going to be a tougher test than the one the team took against LAFC this past weekend, in my opinion. And I think that's because of who they're going to be missing.
Well, yeah, but also is it that Seattle actually gives a shit about the MLS now that CONCACAF is over?
Seattle is 100% actually, playing their starters now in MLS games. Now that
they got a win today again.
Yeah, and listen, like we see this every year from Seattle. I mean, not every year, but
most
at
years.
Least every other. Yeah. It's even years with Seattle, right, where they open up the regular season with a bunch of losses and draws, where you really want Seattle on your schedule at the beginning of the year, and then they immediately turn things around right at the cusp of June and go on a run that usually ends in MLS Cup, right? And the Rapids are facing Seattle as they are entering that stage of their metamorphosis. This is
an immovable object, right, meets a unstoppable force, right? immovable object being the Rapids at home. And look, I mean, it's as good a test as you want. I think, I mean, losing Lucas and Trusty is bad, but I think those are the places where the Rapids have their strongest depth, right? I'd be much more concerned about losing Price or K, much more concerned, or Costa, or really anybody past the defense. You're going to see Vaisia, you're going to see Beta, who are both sound. I think I love the backline with Wilson, Lawless, and Vaisia. It is so athletic. It is big. There's, he doesn't have Vaisia, doesn't have like for like skill with Trusty, but I think he is skilled enough to distribute.
He's a really athletic center back. He's fast. He's strong.
He's great.
He can get into.
I'm excited.
Get stuck into challenges. So, the really big matchup is, can that defense handle Rui Diaz in the attack? Because Rui Diaz is a crafty forward. He's one of the best strikers in MLS. He proved why in his Champions League performance against Pumas. I mean, really in the entire Champions League for Seattle. He's just an exceptional forward, and we cannot have mistakes from the back line that we saw tonight against Seattle, because that's just a recipe for the Sounders breaking that 22 match regular season home unbeaten streak.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. Defense needs to be on point. I wonder if this is the week where we get more than 45 minutes of Jack Price.
I hope so. Supposedly the plan, tonight, the plan was to play Jack Price only 45 minutes. That was set in stone.
I mean, that was obvious.
And so I'm not worried about him. What I am worried about is what the front line is going to look like if Zardez's hamstring injury keeps him out, as we spoke about earlier on the pod, right? Yeah. Is that if Zardez can't go, you obviously have Rubio, team's top goal scorer on the season.
I hope Barrios would start in that case.
Well, and that's the thing about Barrios, man. And I think I talk about this every time I come on the pod with a higher number. And I think his substitute appearance tonight makes it, I believe, 22 appearances in all competitions without a goal. And that includes
I think it's 16 MLS or 17 MLS without a goal. But,
Champions League, playoffs.
And this was a stat back to 2015, which is pretty strong sample size. There's only 5 people in MLS with 30 goals and 40 assists. And he has, I believe, 39 goals and 45 assists. So, anytime there's only 5 people doing that, that's a strong stat. So I think he can find form. I think he's kind of like Lewis, man, where it's you love the process, you're not loving the results. I think they've both played a lot. I mean, the XG doesn't necessarily say it. Does say it for Lewis, hasn't said it for Barrios yet, but he really has owned that wing when he's come in as a sub of late, at least. Can he extend that to a start against Seattle? Ooh, I don't know, dude. It's tough. I mean, so if Price is back, if you assume Vaisia and Beta, probably don't see Acosta.
Well, the guy I'm particularly worried about is Keegan Rosenberry, because the man has played a bunch of minutes.
I think more than anyone.
Well, Trusty, I believe, actually has that distinction because he played 90 in all 3 matches last week, or the previous 3, correct. And 90 tonight before he got sent off.
He did get
sent off. Whereas Rosenberry got. So I think, I think Trusty was a big candidate, I think, to be rotated no matter what happened in this game. Obviously, you want him at least on the bench, so you can maybe take some pressure off of Vaisia late in the game. But I think it was pretty likely that Trusty was either going to be rotated for either this game or the one this weekend, just because of how many minutes he's played. But I'm just worried about Keegan, man, because I know he's an Iron Man. I know he plays every single game. He, and obviously he did have that one mistake tonight. I'm worried about, what this fixture congestion is going to do with him, man. It's definitely a concern. It's brewing.
I think you give him the Nashville game off once Lucas is back from his red card, start Beta and Lucas together. Right. I mean, I don't really trust any of those other outside backs off the bench except for Beta. So I I don't know. You hope he gets through it. God, his last few games. I mean, tonight was definitely a fall off of form for him. I'd say going into tonight, he's been playing as well as he's played all season. Yeah, I think you're right there. It's gonna be a tough one, but it's not Saturday. It's Sunday. It's at home, and no matter what we think about the game going into it, the Rapids get at least a point, if not 3 at home. So it's kind of hard to say otherwise.
So let's break down expected lineup.
Yeah.
Given
okay. Look at the back.
Now that we've done the big overview.
Yeah.
What's it going to look like? Back 3, I think it's got to be Viacia, Wilson, and Abubakar. It's got to be
more. Could be more. Could be more.
Moore wasn't even on the bench tonight.
Yeah, you're right. No,
I think
right. It's Viacia.
I
don't know why I even said that. It's
Viacia. No, I know, but it's a good point to bring him up because Moore has typically been the defensive closer, and we've seen Frazier start him when they've had a bunch of fixture congestion. I know he did. I think he got 1 start this season. He did. Maybe I might be thinking.
He has several sub appearances.
He does.
Sure.
But he's definitely started against New England last season when they had a similar double game week. When Frazier made a tons of rotated his squad by quite a bit. But yeah, I think it's got to be those 3 at wingbacks. I think Beitashour, you're right, has to come in for Esteves. Listen, if
solid,
I don't think there's a better option than Rosenberry, but you do have Anderson there as
Sebastian,
a bomb forward right back. But I mean, listen, if Seb didn't get a start in the Open Cup, is Frazier really going to line him out in the league?
Well, also if it was Nashville and then Seattle instead of Seattle and then Nashville, I think I would be yeah, why not? But
yeah, give Seb a chance.
Right, look, Nashville's pretty much in line with Colorado all year. So I mean, Seattle clearly is a team that you need to worry about more so than Nashville. So I think you just let Keegan be the Iron Man that he is, and you just roll with that back line. You let Beta kind of basically be the 4th on the back line and let Keegan support the attack, pretty much for most of the game. I would think. The midfield is the interesting one to me, mostly because you know Price is going to start and probably play 60 to 70 would be my guess. I don't think he plays all 90.
I think you got to start Price and K.
Well, yeah, for sure. But the question is, do you start Acosta with no Zardes? Max has not done anything. Max has not done anything.
Here's the problem that happens if you want to start 3 midfielders like that. If you start K, Acosta, and Price, then K has to be that sort of attacking midfielder, like the one that gets forward creatively. And I don't know if he has done that job well enough this season for me to be completely confident.
Because he did a terrible Price impersonation tonight. I thought he was bad. He didn't control anything tonight.
Yeah, and I think K's biggest strengths is when he gets stuck in challenges in the midfield. I think when he acts as sort of that midfield bulldog that breaks up plays, applies pressure, breaks up plays, and then springs counters from those plays. I think he's one of the best players in the league at that specific task. But I think when the Rapids are trying to break down any sort of defense, which we saw tonight, which is, I guess it's something that we didn't really get into, but the Rapids just haven't been great at penetrating any sort of low block this season. Whenever teams put back, 9 players, or even all 11 behind the ball, they have no way of handling that. They have no way of breaking it down. But we can expect Seattle, I think, to try to get forward a bit more. To answer your question, Cody, about K's involvement, he does have 2 goals this year. I don't think he has an assist. I could.
He has 3 goals, does he not?
Oh yeah. I think you're right. Oh yeah, because he
3 goals, no assists.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, the chances, those 2 of those were just complete cleanup jobs on just balls plopped down in the box that he finished. One of them was a hockey style redirect. From Beitashour, actually.
He's averaging 1 key pass per game, which is okay. For those of you who don't know, key passes are passes that lead to shots.
It's not good enough.
But in my opinion, like his strength is just breaking up the play in midfield, and he's usually the guy who plays the ball, who plays like to the guy who gets the assist or creates the chance, right? And he just wasn't good enough tonight. Like I'll agree with you there. He has to step up against Seattle. I do think K has been better when he starts.
Okay,
games.
so we have K.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah,
no. But like I want to talk about this because we do think he is going to step up and he's going to be there with Price.
Yeah,
you have Rubio and Lewis is definitely going to start, right?
I think you have to start Rubio, Lewis, and Barrios. I think you have to start that front three.
You wouldn't move Lewis to the right and start Max, which is not what you would do, but necessarily what you would expect because that has been the move by Frazier.
I could see
twice
in
the last month.
I wouldn't make that move just because Max has not been good.
God, he's been bad. he's been bad.
The man, and this is something that I've really wanted to do a deep dive in on a post, but like we've just been so busy with games, I haven't had the time. But like one of the things I really want to write about sometime this year is just like why has Max not really stepped into like that?
Honestly, because he needs to be playing where Rubio is best. Is where I think it's coming from.
I think I agree with you.
I think
that he's really good setting up plays like that, and
I think he needs to be that false nine. Yeah. I think just asking him to run, beat a guy, and send a cross in is not what's best for his skill set. But you have a guy in Rubio who's just better at what he is just playing better at what he does. Right. So
and listen, I'm not super worried in the long term because
no, me neither.
It's clear they see Max as like a guy who's going to develop and become one for the future. And
absolutely, Max.
If you remember,
I just don't want him playing against Seattle this weekend.
I don't think he'll. He can reach like the level that the Rapids need. But I could see him starting. Like I could easily see him.
You're right about Barrios. Though. I mean, Barrios has been. Him and Lewis both are like the epitome of process versus results. Like they have both been so good in their role, and neither one of them can finish to save their life. To save their life. Like
they could shoot fish in a barrel, man.
Dude, it is like
it's a bad year for them.
It's killing me.
I say that as somebody who was like a huge fan of Barrios last year, and even Lewis last year. Like
Yaya is the resident Lewis hater, and even he was liking what Lewis has been doing lately.
And I mentioned this earlier in this very pod that like I thought Lewis probably was one of the best forwards, best of the three forwards tonight.
Sure.
In terms of like the chances he created and got involved in, but at some point the end product has to be there. And for two guys who were doing so or contributed so much last season and combined for double-digit goals and assists between them, we just haven't seen that level of play this season.
And I've called a Lewis breakout for the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I thought tonight was it for sure. SKC's backline is begging for Lewis to run on them and get one in. And man, I just I can't call it this weekend. Honestly, I think you especially if you go ahead, you just drop everybody back. And you play that game. I mean, and look, it's happened at Dick several occasions this season where they go up 1-0 and they only play the counter and they add a second or third because they can just let those super speedy outside guys break and catch guys off guard and pad a lead. But man,
But listen, the good news is that Seattle is going to be without Alex Roldan.
Yep, big one.
Who picked up either a second yellow or a straight red tonight. I didn't actually see what it was.
I didn't see either. You can talk about it, though. I'll find it.
I know he got sent off. And listen, like losing him at wing. First things first. Acknowledge that Seattle is like the epitome of like the next man up team, where it seems like it seems like they always have some 18-year-old crawling
It
around.
was a
in their
second yellow.
squad. Okay, yeah. So Seattle, it always seems like they have some 18-year-old crawling around in their squad that can pop into the first team role with these. I mean, Obed Vargas, whoever heard of this guy before, and now he's putting in man of the match performances in the Champions League. It just always seems to be this way with Seattle, is that their next man up culture is just really strong, and they're
So's the Rapids though, and they're going to show it.
Exactly.
They have to show it this weekend.
But I think the difference between them is that, while the Rapids were very much next man up solid last year, like, the guys who have come in to fill, other than Beta Shore, I can't think of like a backup. I mean, maybe Acosta a little bit, but
Acosta, Viacia.
That's true. I guess that they've come in clutch, but I just don't.
I think Lucas has played well when Beta's gotten the starts as a sub. I think he's done well with the wing sharing. Barrios has definitely gotten pushed out due to max minutes, and I think he's done really well with them. Hasn't scored, but look, it's going to be a who's next man up is going to be the X factor, right? Yeah. So if you get one guy, and we can kind of wrap up with this, one guy to be the unexpected X factor for a Rapids 3 points this weekend. Who's the key? Who's the guy you don't? Maybe people don't see stepping up to be the X factor.
Well, the first thing I'll say is that when Mark Anthony Kaye and Diego Rubio have good games, the Rapids as a whole have good games.
Correct.
That's
they
like
are the talisman.
The central, the central contributing factors of all the Rapids wins this season have been Mark Anthony Kaye and Diego Rubio putting in clutch performances. For the Rapids this weekend, I'm really looking to one of Lewis or Barrios. One of them needs to step up against Seattle, because the way the Seattle team is going, the Rapids are going to, I think I said this last week against LAFC and then they went in and shut them out. But I think the Rapids will need multiple goals this weekend, because it's hard for me to imagine Seattle not scoring at least once. They just have too much talent. I'd be really surprised. It's been a long time since. Actually, it's not been that long. I don't think the Rapids beat Seattle last year, but they did pick up at least one win in 2020, if my memory serves correctly. So I mean, it's not out of the question. It's not out of the question to see a Rapids win, but it is going to be tough. One thing I do want to ask you before we sign off, or before I guess we make predictions, is do you think that the Rapids have been sort of playing to the level of their opponents as opposed to exerting like their dominance over over matches? Because I see like the statement win over LAFC, big win over Atlanta, and then then you have like
they beat Portland at home convincingly. Then
you pick up a draw.
SKC at home also convincingly. Yeah. Should have beat Houston on the road. Sneaks a draw. Yeah, I think what happens is, and I don't know. This is just what I'm seeing, but on the road, this 5-2-3 amorphous blob that kind of bends itself to the run of play in the right ways at home. It doesn't have the same communication on the road. And I don't know what it is. But it's all of a sudden you see Lawless and Trusty both on the goal line. And you have Acosta and Price as your center backs on a break. And while they haven't gotten burns too bad on those, it's just for some reason, Dick's Sporting Goods Park just brings out the best of these lineups. And it's just like, it's a really unique. I mean, it's not really unique. There's 3-4-3s and 3-4-2-1s. But
I think you're right that the formation isn't. It's not like it's the team. So I think I was talking to Jason Maxwell about this at the LAFC game last weekend, and we spoke about how, like, under Anthony Hudson, when the Rapids put out a formation, that was how they looked for the entire game. Yeah, but it's a lot more fluid under Fraser.
I think that's their strength, but I think it can also be their weakness. And I think
players have to be able to pick up the responsibility.
Well, in that, and also in that
they switch positions with.
In that injury rash, when he decided to go to 4-3-3, that looked terrible. And they tried to stick to that 4-3-3 like really hard, and it did not work at all. They'd bring on a sub. Their first set of subs would go back to the 5-2-3. or however you want to call it. And I think that is the problem on the road. I don't think it's necessarily playing down, but I think we've had one good Rubio game on the road. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'd say 2. I think he played well in Minnesota. And I think he played well in Dallas, and I think that's it. And K, I don't think he's had a good road game
on the road. Like he and for me, that's just it's crazy to watch, because whenever I see K in person at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, he puts in. I mean, I want to say he hasn't had a bad home match this year. Maybe the RSL game. Maybe
RSL game he wasn't great. I mean Portland, he had that late goal, but I don't think he was great. I don't think he's had a great season. I think honestly I think if he even has a above average season to this point, not even good, just above average, I think the Rapids are comfortably in a playoff spot right now. But that's probably its whole own podcast. I think you hit the nail on the head for this weekend, though. For them to break Seattle, to keep the home streak alive, one of Barrios or Lewis or whoever gets that other spot outside of Lewis needs to connect on a goal. It has to be someone that isn't right.
They can't just rely on Rubio.
And they can't just rely on a Jack Price set piece. Now, if they get 2 goals from those guys, they'll probably win, right? Like, so cool, great. You relied on it. But to really see that this team is breaking through and making strides, you need to see a goal from someone that we haven't seen a goal from, because it's pretty much just been Rubio, right? Yeah. I mean, K's cleaned up some set pieces and had that one late in stoppage. And God, it's just like, it's,
well, speaking of set pieces, it's not like the Rapids have, I guess, they've looked good on set pieces this year. Don't get me wrong; they definitely are.
Yeah, they just haven't finished. Yeah, they just haven't finished.
But like last year, we saw Lawless Abubakar pitch in with a bunch of set piece goals. We saw Austin Trusty pitch in with set piece goals. We saw Danny Wilson pitch in. Yeah, Danny Wilson, Baji. All of these players were finding the back of the net off set pieces, and it has me wondering if teams have, now that they have, 2+ years of Robin Fraser set pieces to analyze, that they've gotten a lot better at defending them. I'm not saying that the Rapids haven't created or haven't scored from set pieces this year, because they have, but it definitely seems like it's at a lower rate.
They definitely haven't scored, but here's the thing about set pieces, man, and this might be like my anti-nerd take on sports and analytics and tape and stuff. Sure. Is like set pieces are effort, especially corners are 100% effort, and beating your man to the spot and getting up at the right time. And Price will put the ball there tonight. He hit Lawless in the head. He hit Wilson in the head. He hit Trusty in the head. He hit Zardes in the head, or maybe Acosta was the one that sent the one that hit Zardes. But they have 2 elite set piece takers who put it right where it needs to be every time. You just have to beat your guy. And I don't think it's tape. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's like, hey, you need to outwork your guy, get in position, jump at the right time, and finish. And they just haven't got there yet. And they're so close.
Oh yeah.
They're so close.
We didn't even talk about tonight, but they forced 2 big saves off Melia in the final minutes. God, and I think one of them was
great. I hate to give it up for him, but man, he was nails.
For a goalkeeper who has put in some of the worst,
literally the worst game
but he has some of the worst advanced metrics for goalkeepers this year. The really nerd stat for goalkeepers is post shot expected goals or whatever, and or minus goals allowed, and he has the lowest number in the league.
Yeah,
and
it's been bad.
For someone who has had such a rough season in front of goal, the Rapids made him look like Tim Howard versus Belgium tonight. I mean, at least for those.
No, he was great. No, he was great. He was great. So, okay, let's get into it then.
What's your score prediction for this weekend?
Yeah, let's get into that. Okay, look, Seattle, they're forming Voltron, right? This is the beginning stages. They're not there quite yet, or remember Digimon? They're not the final Digimon. They're the second or third Digimon, right? So they're they're growing, but they're not full destruction mode yet. Man, I just can't predict a loss. I'm going to say a frustrating 1-1 draw.
Oh, you stole mine.
Sorry.
No, but that's what I was going to go with. Who's your goal scorer? Give me your.
I think Lewis gets his goal.
Okay. Okay,
I really do, man. Lewis gets bagged on as much as anyone on this team. He really does, and I don't think he deserves it. You can point to XG, you can point to him missing some chances, but in terms of what the formation requires, I think he does his specific job as well as anyone, or close to it, because not a lot of people are doing their jobs very well right now.
And
I think he gets it.
My question for Lewis is how he fares, because he's looked really well, really good in the last 2 games because defenders have had their hands full with Zardes and Rubio, which allows him like a lot more space to, get into good positions. But without Zardes on the field, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I think. Yeah, I mean, I think it really goes down to to be different. I'll just say Rubio. Rubio's going to be my goal scorer. I didn't expect.
I mean, why not? That's a pretty good guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's only
over half a goal a game right now.
But if it's not Rubio, I think they do finally get that defensive header set piece goal.
Maybe.
Yeah,
just being
the
giant that he is. He's
maybe Wilson, maybe a Boubacar. I mean, I would love for a Boubacar to redeem himself by getting a goal this weekend.
You know what's funny about Vazquez, and we think he's like this giant athletic guy, right? If you look at Denver sports, like Jamal Murray would make Vazquez look tiny.
That's true. The soccer players are a different breed, man.
Yeah, it's weird because you see Vazquez on that, you're like, man, that guy's big. He's like 6'2", right? Like he's a tiny guy in the NBA, tiny. And but man, I think you're right. I think Jack Bryce, he's itching for one of them to finish these. You cannot ask for more from the start of a set piece than he's given. Yeah. You can definitely ask for a lot more on the other end of the set piece.
He's serving up the goods. Oh, it's up for his team to finish.
Silver platter, dude. And
Acosta was doing this too against LAFC. And obviously, we're a lot happier about that match because they scored 2 from penalties. But Acosta kept serving up great set pieces in the first half before Price came on, and just nobody could put it in the back of the net. He kept finding players, and
Anyways, Yaselina, if you have some Yaselina positivity, hop on. If not, I'm gonna have Joesph do his. You got one for me?
I'm going 4-0.
4-0 who?
Dude, the Rapids. I can't so much, and that hurts. One of the main reasons I want the people to know that one of the main reasons I wasn't on this pod today, it's because I was extremely pissed.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
got you, baby.
Mitch, I'm like, Mitch, I cannot be on the show today. I'm gonna regret. I told him right before the show started, I could not do the show. But my belief in this team is gonna kill me one of these days. I know it is. I know.
Give me your goal scores. Who scored? Is it Lewis get all 4 or what?
Me and Juan were talking about this the other day. Being a Rapids fan, it's not about the victory. It's about the fans you made along the way. It's about the
oh my God, you're right though.
It really is.
Hold on. So you said 4-0. You said 4-0. Who's your 4? Give me 4.
I'm not really going 4-0. I'm gonna go 2-0. I think Yarbrough gets the clean sheet.
It's number 6 on the season. Let's go.
I think Mac has been really good at home, so I think he gets the goal today. I get the goal against Sounders.
Okay.
I'm not putting my faith in Lewis again. I've said it today.
You've been hurt before.
I thought he played good today. I thought he was effective.
He was great.
I just don't think that he's a goal scorer. So yeah, I'll take Rubio.
Okay.
And probably Mac because I don't think Zardes.
Rubio and Mac. 2-0. You heard it here first, folks. All right, Joesph, go ahead and plug your stuff for me, bud.
Listen, man, if you guys are trying to break down that just whatever we just witnessed tonight, I'm gonna have a deep dive up on my blog later this evening, or maybe by the AM, where I sort of try to break down tactically everything that went wrong for Colorado tonight.
Good luck.
And that's at my website. It's joesphasamelson.com.
5,000 words. Jesus Christ.
The link is in my Twitter bio. My handle is JSPSAM. It's right here on the screen. You guys got it. I do deep dives on the Rapids as often as I can, and Listen, man,
Great
I'm just
tactical
gonna try
analysis.
to. I'm just gonna try to
Definitely.
figure this one out because this one
I
was
watch
rough,
your
man.
stuff and I try and get into the advanced statistics. That's not always my thing. You're definitely the KOC to the Verno here, if that's a basketball reference here. But
Sure.
look, definitely follow Joesph. Get your stuff in.
Thanks for having me again. I really
dude,
have I
we
really
love breaking it down.
enjoy jumping in on these pods, and hope we can see a better performance.
Winners Lounge, baby. Let's get a Winners Lounge on
this
Sunday.
week.
All right. Well, make sure you follow super producer Yaya. Get all the Yaselina from him. That is at Yahir G_Vazquez. Subscribe to DNVR Sports on YouTube. Follow DNVR_Rapids on Twitter. Follow me, Mitch__Caroll. Trying to get that check mark, baby. We need it. Order your stuff from the locker, man. Get those scarves. They're sick. We'll put up some stuff on the show on Sunday after that win.
You guys gotta send me one. I'll add it to the wall somewhere.
As long as it goes right, dead center, right there. No, I'm just kidding. So order your stuff and hit the like on there, hit the thumbs up. And above all that, baby, up the pids.
Up the pids, baby.